On today's edition of Alabama Unfiltered, we talk about all things school choice. So that means, Allison, what did we talk about?
Well, I think school choice means a lot of things. So we kind of go through the different types of school choice, which states have school choice. And then we're very fortunate to have Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth on because he is a big proponent of school choice. And we want to get Alabama's officials version of what school choice might look like. We walk through a potential bill that will come up at the end of this session and kind of the details of what this school choice would look like. And then we have a great after hours overtime behind the scenes special edition of Alabama Unfiltered for people that are members and subscribe to 1819 News. I think that's it.
I think that's everything. So basically, you want to stay tuned.
We're literally debating that it's bad that people get to say what they think.
Can you imagine? I'm reading Psalm 144 and it says, "He trains my hands for war."
We are on the brink of total destruction of America as we know it.
Let your rebel flag fly.
Welcome into this week's edition of Alabama Unfiltered. I'm one of your hosts, along with Amy Beth Shaver and Allison Sinclair, who are also with me. Ladies, how are y'all?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm ready to go. Allison, you good? Stressed?
No.
A little worried?
Well, no, you were just...
What?
Number one...
You go ahead and say it. You were being yourself. That's what you were saying to me. I wasn't saying that to you.
No,
I was just...
Number one, you were a little late and that got me stressed.
Well.
And then I'm disappointed.
Why?
Because you were late because you were going through the drive-thru at Jack's.
Well, what's wrong with Jack's? They should sponsor the program.
They should, but you're trying to lose weight in 2023.
I know. I got a kid's meal size stuff.
I'm working hard on Weight Watchers.
Oh, that's what you're mad about. You're
I've lost
ornery.
1 pound.
Me too. That's my week. Woohoo! Rock. Oh,
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I'm good. Scott and I
you're a
just
little
had our
hangry?
first fight. Yeah.
Allison was a little hangry.
Well,
She's just afraid it's
maybe
not going
that
to go right. Just kind of
no.
go with the flow. I
It's
thought
just,
when this started, she was like, "I'm gonna go with the flow. It doesn't bother me." And, ooh, it's very regimented at the the Sinclair podcast.
So-
check mark.
Oh, I just.
Are you a
unplugged.
list maker that does?
I like
you haven't
lists.
even. I knew you were a list person, but yours has little hearts and smiley faces.
Well, how did you know
Hers
that?
are hardcore checks and X's. Lines. I did that one.
Yell at Scott today. That's what mine looks like.
So here's a beautiful segue. Did your teacher use hearts or check marks on the board in your classroom when she put y'all's talkative names up there in class?
I was the best student. I never got on the board ever.
Ever?
Were you
No.
that kid?
Did you
were the-
get your name on the
I got
board?
paddled in first grade for talking unnecessarily.
I didn't. I only got my name on the board once,
Good.
Not good.
but
Did y'all have to write on the chalkboard back when they used to make you, "I will not talk in reading circle.
maybe.
I will not stand on the desks."
Oh, wait. Miss
not
Pritchard
run
would
in the halls.
beg to differ that I did talk unnecessarily in K5.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of words, but I loved my teachers. I thought school was fabulous.
And
Did
they
y'all
loved
enjoy
you.
school?
I loved school. I
Oh,
would go
knew-
back to school.
I knew that was coming.
Right. If I could go back to school right now, I would totally go back to school.
If you could go back to school, I would send you.
Which, hey, you guys.
This is a real fight now.
This is a playground battle right now. But pause, because you're going to want to become an overtime member, aren't you? Aren't we?
Yes, for when this show goes into overtime.
Because we're
we want
going
you to be
into
there.
overtime now. And in order to be an overtime member, that is extra content for members only of Alabama Unfiltered and of 1819 News, then go ahead right now and become a member and join. There are different levels, but we will have in our education podcast that we're doing today in school choice, because now everybody's magically for it. We'll be talking about some things in the third segment, and you don't want to miss it. And the only way you won't miss it is if you're a member, right?
Yeah, and Scott and I will continue our
Right.
fight.
Our
I
beef
thought you were going
on
to tell
overtime.
people,
playground battle.
tell people how to find our podcast, where are all the places they can find it,
Well,
and how to sign up.
Spotify, is that right?
Yeah, that's
Spotify?
right.
Sounds
Which
right.
is a funny name,
Shopify.
but not Shopify.
And Podbean and Rumble and sometimes YouTube, because a lot of times we get kicked off. Facebook, 1819news.com, Apple,
Mhm.
all the places you listen to your podcasts. And what else? You got to sign up for the 1819 News newsletter that comes in your inbox.
Yes.
Every morning at 5:30 a.m.
And the Daily Detail.
And the Daily Detail. It's actually a very quick, a quick detail of what's going on.
Right.
Andrea Tyson, her very newsworthy.
She does such a good
at
job.
that.
No, I know. That's like, she's very, very good.
Can we do it like on YouTube and look, right down there, there's a link right there to help you find.
I've always wanted to do
yeah,
that.
I don't know if we
See.
can do that.
Can we?
I don't know.
Well, if it doesn't work,
Maybe
then
our miraculous
just 'cause I didn't
producer
know
will be
anybody.
able to put that there.
Well, then how do you sign up for the overtime? Is it there?
It's there
Okay.
because it's we're asking people to subscribe and then become a member at different levels. But if you become a member, you will get extra content that everybody else doesn't get. And you want this extra
It'll be
content,
special.
especially today, because we're talking about all things school choice.
And I think a lot of people may not understand, and we've never really gone deep into how 1819 News is different. Like, we don't take money from special interest groups, campaigns. Candidates don't pay us to bring content. And that's purposeful because we aren't beholden to anyone to talk about, to promote anything. And so we really, if it's continually driven and supported by viewers and the public and constituents of Alabama, then we can talk about what we want. And
Right.
that's what we want, to bring the truth, whatever the truth is. And once you start taking money from special interest groups, that truth slowly starts to, you can say it won't, but starts to slip away. And so that's why we are bringing you content every week that is so good, and it's different. If you pay attention, you're hearing things that you won't hear anywhere else. And we need your support so we can keep doing this. So
Right.
that is my pitch. And the overtime segment that we're going to start is really just a little bit deeper, maybe a little bit more unfiltered, kind of talk about.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know how I think it is?
Y'all two gonna cuss or
No,
what?
I'm so
Yeah.
restrained every week. Like, really?
Are you?
Yes.
You worried about it?
And she is too. I don't know about you, but
I'm just
I got
always
so
under
much more to
control. You have more to say.
yeah.
Okay. So
I may have to subscribe.
here's the question.
I
Yeah,
I'm not a member, and so I'm gonna have to subscribe.
we'll have to pay ourselves.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, and why do people need to keep listening? Besides,
Well, we got a
Weight
couple of
Watchers?
different things. School choice is the big thing. We're going to have the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Alabama, Will Ainsworth, on later in the program. We're going to have that. And in the overtime segment, we're going to talk about some of the challenges to school choice, because there's a lot of things that are going to be said. A lot of politicians are going to say all the right things, but there's going to be some of these weasel words. And there's going to be a lot of activity in the background. And normal folks, which God bless everybody who's a normal person that's not obsessed with this kind of stuff like we are, they just don't always get the tricks.
Right.
The elected official go out and says this certain thing, and then really behind the scenes, this is going on. And that's what we're going to do in overtime today.
I cannot wait for you to talk to us about that, because I think when people's eyes are open, when you know,
Right.
and then they can help other people go,
That's what he's saying.
that's what he's saying, but that's what he's really doing behind
Right.
the scenes. I love it.
Give us
Exactly.
some insight.
That's
in your-
fantastic. So what is school choice? What does that actually mean?
I think this silence right here, in my opinion, is indicative, because I think it means a lot of different things
To a lot of different people.
to a lot
Yeah.
of different people. Because, well, so I was looking up actually what is school choice. By the way, it's National School Choice Week, which is probably why we're hearing so much from elected officials. But I will say, last year we didn't hear this.
Not a thing.
We didn't hear anything.
There is some momentum there.
Yes, there's something
and,
shifting.
And there will be people throwing.
And I
Throwing
choose to be
boulders out
happy
in the road.
that there's some there,
Yes,
because we've waited for a long time for there to be some there.
I agree. In the last couple of big efforts to do something about school choice were undermined
Absolutely.
by some of the people who talked the biggest and were the most supportive of it. And they
Right.
got nervous about it. They didn't know what to do. You know, she said, "You can kiss me." And, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? That kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
It was an image so people could understand it.
Oh,
She finally said, "Yes, you can
Okay,
kiss
sorry.
me."
I was
And they
like,
didn't know what they
who's
were going to
kissing
do.
who?
Goodness gracious.
sorry.
Somebody get the engineer.
I'm sorry. I'm
little
so
you
literal.
You need a notepad?
Well, no, I start
You
because
are. You
I
take
was
it literally.
I was thinking about how in a committee meeting, and we will get to what is school choice, but when Dr. Eric Mackey all of a sudden start talking about, well, if they're taking government money, then we need to be testing them to make sure they're up to our standards, even though they're in private and homeschool.
Right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did you laugh out loud
I laugh
when
out
he
loud.
said that?
Well, it's so typical of what we've got, this great bill that's coming out. It really was really good, the Del Marsh Collins bill last year. And then all of a sudden, the AEA and the Department of Education start putting their little claws into it because they are terrified of losing control. And I think that's more of what we'll talk about in overtime, is kind of the behind the scenes, like who is going to really be jockeying against this. Because school choice, if you want to take its true definition, which is school choice allows public education funds to follow students to the schools or services that best fit their needs. That can be public school, private school, charter school, homeschool, or any other learning environment. The key is that families choose. So,
Yeah, that's the pure best definition.
And do y'all know when it started?
School choice.
The modern school choice movement? You'd be surprised.
1956.
She's getting close.
She's getting close. I'll let you.
I didn't cheat.
I'm going with 55.
Oh,
1955.
See?
you are such a cheater.
I am not a cheater.
just were
I
like,
just
Price
look
is
at
right.
the, I
You
look
gotta
at
just
the
one-up
data. I
me.
saw what you said. I looked at her face because she was shocked how close you were. So I didn't want to be.
It
wrong with
never
it.
is. Yeah,
Okay, Scott
1955. So Milton Friedman released an essay on the role of government in education. And he argued for the application of free market principles to the education sector and advocated that tax dollars follow the students as opposed to public schools receiving a blanket amount of funding.
Right.
That's the modern version. But we all know that it really started when parents ceded control and agreed in Massachusetts when the first public school situation started, Horace Mann being the father of public education. That's when it really started. But it modern iteration was 1955, which shocked me. Like, I didn't know that.
Well, and that, as the discussion ramps up around the country and in Alabama, listen out for those, because some people think school choice is having more public charter schools available, where they still, the government.
That's the limit of it. Right. That's all it is. It's kind of like the voucher tax credit thing. People would get confused about which is which and why is why. And, the difference really was based on some of the court rulings. If it's a voucher, it's not really your money, but if it's a tax credit, it is your money and you can spend it wherever. And we were always like, why are you making it so complicated? Well, you're making it complicated so it can be harder for school choice to ever occur.
Exactly.
That was part of the reason. And I also think we've done a poor job of selling it. We've called it school choice. We've made it kind of over there somewhere instead of saying, parent, don't you want to decide what is best for your children? And almost every parent will say yes, but we called it school choice and made it complicated because we were trying to work within the system. And really, to get school choice, you kind of have to not blow it up, but it's a new paradigm. It changes everything. And that's why the establishment, the educratocracy, fights it tooth and nail. Wouldn't you say?
It's a loss of control. And I think that's intimidating. And even for people that maybe haven't heard the term, you're like, wait. All of a sudden, we're going to be able to do what with what? And that's what I hope this podcast does, because this discussion is not going away. When Governor Ivey, Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth, Katie Britt, all in unison are posting on Twitter and everywhere about school choice, something is happening. And so I was just curious, like, how many other states have school choice? Well, it's funny, if you type it in, they'll say there are 22 states. That's not necessarily true of what we think school choice is. That's the ones that have charter schools and exactly kind of.
That you might have one other choice.
Right.
Not a smorgasbord of choices, or not complete freedom. You might have, if you live in the right place and your school has to perform so poorly that even the public education system says it's horrible, and you have the right economic status, then we might let you go to this other school over here that we really run too.
Right.
But it's done a little different.
It makes you feel better.
This one specializes in math.
Right.
That's kind of how they do it, is it not?
Yeah.
But what we're talking about is money follows the child. Put the money in the backpack, whatever you want to look at it. And parents can say, I want the portion that you're going to spend on my child, and I want my child to go to this school, or I want my child to be We'll teach them at home, that kind of thing. That's real choice. That's real freedom, isn't it?
That's right. And I think that it's interesting that when you said that Dr. Mackey was talking about tax dollars, that this is also going to be necessary to explain to our educrats, those are our dollars that you're spending. Like, we're going to have to break it down, and not in a, like, I'm not trying to be funny, but I think we forget we sent you that money, but we sent you that money.
Right.
We get to choose what we do with it. It's not your money.
Right.
It's our money.
We sent that money in so that the children of the state of Alabama, not just ours, the children of the state of Alabama would have an opportunity to get an education. That was what it was for.
Right.
We didn't send it in to have 75,000 employees. We didn't send it in to only support these facilities. We sent it in to educate the children of the state of Alabama. One of the things that I used to love to say, because it's kind of in that leftist weasel world land.
Yeah.
I would go places and I would say, look, I fully support publicly funded education. People were like, yay, you rock, you're for publicly funded education. And then they were like, how can you be for school choice? You said, yeah, I said, I'm for publicly funded education. I'm for the public funding education, but I think people should have a choice at how those dollars are spent.
Right. So that's the true definition of, in my opinion, that's what we need to be talking about when we're talking about school choice, an educational savings account. You'll see ESA written. That is a true school choice program. And there are only 5 states, actually a new one today, Iowa just today.
Iowa did?
Signed into law their school ESA program. Sorry. Arizona, Florida.
Does everybody qualify? See how the questions already start? Who qualifies?
So we're going to get to that because in the next, after we talk to Lieutenant Governor Ainsworth, I have a bill. Actually, I don't have the actual bill, but I have some talking points of one of the school choice bills that will actually be presented in the Alabama legislature. And I'm going to talk through it. And I want y'all to ask me those questions. Like, think about, if you're our viewers, what do you, because this is all so new. So we're going to talk through that. I think that's good. But the 5 that have it, Tennessee, Mississippi, Florida, so like our southern neighbors, Mississippi's beating us yet again, North Carolina, Arizona, and as of today, Iowa. So it's increasing. It's a movement for sure. And I think it's a worthwhile discussion because we're ranked, 51st? 52nd?
We're
52nd.
ranked further than there are states, unless you're looking at it like Barack Obama did.
It's true.
Right?
Yes.
We're 51st, 52nd, something like that.
52nd in math and 45th in reading.
Are we that high in reading?
We were a little, or maybe 48th, and we had jumped up. I did a couple stories on that last year, and I was surprised. I was like, oh, great. So we can't just blame Mississippi. Thanks, Mississippi. And here's the other thing that was interesting. 1819 did a story. I think it was Caleb Taylor did an excellent story about the fact that Alabama ranks 25th for the amount of power parents have over their children's education, according to a study by the Center for Education Reform, which is interesting because I don't know how they rank that.
Right.
But shouldn't every state want to be listed as one all the way across the board? Like, everybody should get a first place ribbon in, you're in control. And I think that this is the most exciting thing about having this discussion when you see that parents have been labeled terrorist, or you see that teachers in some states, not necessarily in Alabama, have said parents should have no control, no say whatsoever. And here we are, we're 25th, so at least we're in the middle of the pack, but we need to move to first place in this. And I think everything else is going to shake out as far as test scores and results go. But I thought that was neat.
I'm over here laughing because it goes along with what you're saying. Did y'all listen or read? Like, I actually read Governor Ivy's inaugural address.
Oh, the State of the State or the inaugural address?
The inaugural
the new
address.
one,
The
the
new
second,
one,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
It's actually it's kind of funny. It's a lot of fluff. I'm not really sure what her plans are, but she does talk about school choice, and she talks about education being a priority. And then she says, and we're gonna set out to make Alabama rank number 30. And I'm like, before Common Core, we were above 30.
We were like the 20s.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Common
gas
Core.
prices. You're like, oh, wait, we're below $3. Time out. 2 years ago, we were at $1.67, but all of a sudden we want to, and I'm like, since when did this average become like our best? And so that's why I think school choice it's a little intimidating because, like you said, it's a whole paradigm shift. But what we're doing is not working. So why not give it a shot?
Well, that was going to be my question: is it really a gamble? I mean, what if we go full out? No one comes anywhere close. The most parental choice, the most school choice. Tons of dollars goes to private schools, homeschool, whatever. Everything you could possibly ever want, and it totally flops. Are we worse off? Educationally, academically?
No, even if it flops, we're not.
So we can't go. We're at 50 something. When are we going to drop to 47 in reading?
Well, we can't drop to 60.
Surely all the homeschool folks can do phonics.
Although according
so
to
we'll
Common
go
Core
up.
Math, we could drop to 60.
I guess you're probably right.
Good point.
We don't have much to lose.
We don't have much to lose.
Right.
And I think it's a great discussion. So I'm excited that we're going to bring in Lieutenant Governor Will Ainsworth. I literally, when we kind of shifted gears and decided we were going to do a school choice podcast yesterday, I literally stared at my phone and I was like, yeah, I mean, I could call him. He's tweeting about it. And so my son's sitting next to me. I'm like, I'm about to call the Lieutenant Governor of Alabama. Just don't burp or something. Anyway. And so I called and I'm like, hey, you want to come on? And he was absolutely. So I'm super excited to have Will Ainsworth on today, our Lieutenant Governor. But we're going to take a quick break for our sponsor, and then we'll come back and we'll have him on with us here on Alabama Unfiltered.
What's up, guys? Brian Dawson, CEO of 1819 News here. I want to take a minute to tell you about my good friends over at Centurion Labs. Cold weather is here, and you know what that means. Colds, the flu, and coronaviruses are running rampant. Your immune system needs protection, and that's why I love what my friends over at Centurion Labs are doing. They're always looking for safe, effective, affordable ways to keep you healthy and at your best. Got a cough, sore throat, or a runny nose? You need to check out their Ninja Cough product. You heard me, Ninja Cough. It contains the strongest non-narcotic cough suppressant on the market with no sugar, alcohol, or dyes, so it's safe for everyone, even your kids. Looking to strengthen your immune health, prevent sickness, or fight off the flu, and of course, coronaviruses? Defender Immunity Boost is for you. It is an all-in-one immunity booster that combines vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, copper, and quercetin in just one pill to save you money and help defend your health. Having trouble sleeping? Defender PM is a nighttime immunity booster that will help you get rest and boost your immune health. Now is the time to defend your health, save money, and support a company that shares your Christian values and loves this country. Centurion has dedicated the last 15 years to research and develop safe, effective, and affordable products made in the USA that you can trust. For a limited time, listeners of this podcast can get 20% off their first bottle order when you visit centurionlabs.com/1819news and use the promo code 1819. That's centurionlabs.com/1819news with the promo code 1819. Check them out, guys.
Welcome back into the program, everybody. The Lieutenant Governor of the state of Alabama, Will Ainsworth, is now with us. Will, welcome to the program. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing great. Great to be with y'all.
Thank you so much for coming on. I know this is very, very last minute, so I appreciate it. But there's been so much talk, especially on social media. You put a tweet out this weekend. Katie Britt has been talking about it. Governor Ivey mentioned it in her inaugural address, talking about school choice. And it's also National School Choice Week. So I appreciate you coming on because we were talking about this earlier, that school choice means different things to different people. And for instance, I think when Ivey's talking about it, the governor is more talking about charter schools, which are really just still public schools, but with specialties. You don't have to live in a specific zip code to go there. But when you say, let's do this, let's have school choice in Alabama, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, what it means to me is I'm all in. It means having real school choice for every child where the parent decides what's best for that child, and that we're actually looking at students and each parent can decide that. So that means private schools. That means, homeschools. That means, charter schools. That means magnet schools and public school choice. And so the idea is you decide as a parent what is best for your child and what school you want to go to. And so glad to come on the show last minute because this is an important issue and it's something we need to address in Alabama we're at the bottom in education. It's time to change that. It's time to give parents choice. And this is proven in other states that it works. And it's time for Alabama to offer real choice to parents. But most importantly, it's going to benefit the students in our state. And, so I'm going to continue to lead the charge and be vocal on this issue. And it's the right thing to do.
Governor, a lot of people have asked, okay, well, I don't understand really what school choice is. That's what some people say, but how is it supposed to help students? How is it supposed to help my kids? How is it supposed to help education? It sounds good, but how is it supposed to work?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So, in my mind, school choice allows each school option is best for their child. In some situations, they'll keep their child in the same school, right? But they make that decision. And so the idea of school choice is that you're not, your child is not doomed to a failing school or a school they don't want by a zip code, right? That is the problem we have right now, is that a lot of students, are zoned for a school. They're zoned for a school that might not be a best fit. Maybe their parents don't agree with what's being taught there. Maybe, they need to be in a different environment to learn. And so, the idea to me is that every parent, what do I think is the best thing is where the parent decides whether it's a private school, whether it's a public school, whether it's a charter school, whatever the situation is that they would get an allocation of money. And then that money, the parent would decide where to send their child. If it's a public school and the public school's doing a good job, they're not going to lose a dollar because they're going to keep every student. If they're not doing a good job, they're going to lose a lot of money and they're probably going to not be able to survive. That's a good thing, okay? Because now competition is driving this, and the fact that we've got schools in Montgomery that have historically failed for as long as I've been alive. The state's taken them over. Nothing's changed. And so, you got to ask yourself, students that are zoned for that school because of where they live, right? Which is really no fault of their own. They're stuck in a historically failing school and they don't have any options. Let's fix that. And that's, what I want to do.
So I've got a quick question. Last session, Senator Marsh brought a great school choice bill forward, and a lot of people supported it initially. It lost momentum when the State Department of Education and Dr. Mackey insisted on adding accreditation and testing requirements to private schools and homeschools. Do you support, if this happens, standardized accreditation and testing for private schools and for homeschools? Because I think as homeschool parents, we know that, especially even dealing with sports when our kids were coming through, even as we were doing all the whole, Tim Tebow law, that gave a lot of people pause. Why would you add that? And I think it's important. I would love to know the governor's thoughts.
There's definitely something
testing.
we need to think about, because that will be one of the arguments that's used against it.
Right.
They will say, well, then we ought to test. And I think the real answer, the trump card to that is fine. I think the private schools and homeschools, everybody should say yes to it because of this.
Yeah.
Say yes, but we want you to give the same test to everybody, even the public schools.
I totally disagree. That's so interesting.
And here's why. Because the State Board of Education will never get around to actually having that test if they know their schools are going to have to do it too. Because imagine if you have the local school, the public school, and everybody realizes no one at that school is passing this test that they wanted to give to the homeschoolers and they wanted to give to the private schoolers. So I just see it as a strategy, instead of us always going, no, go, sure, absolutely. Our kids will pass whatever test you give them. Now, then the debate is, well, what's going to be on the test, what curriculum and that kind of stuff. But I think it takes away one of their arguments that says, y'all don't want accountability if we say, yes, we want it, but y'all need to take the same test. And if y'all school fails, close it down like you wanted to do the private school. Because the private school is going to pass.
Okay, Governor.
Yeah, I think I listened to what Scott just said. I think I agree with him on that, have the same testing for everyone. At this point, if you're going to, require them to do, they certainly don't need additional testing or anything. And I totally disagree with government getting involved. And, my kids go to, Christian school. I don't think they need to get in there and tell them what they can or can't do. It's a private school, and if you're a parent at home and you're teaching that, you ought to be able to decide what you want to teach. And so that's part of this whole thing of having parents involved. And so obviously we want to make sure kids are being taught, actually learning. That's important, right? And just basic stuff. But I think the idea that we're going to allow government to get involved in what Christian schools are teaching is crazy.
See, okay, so this is where, and Scott and I have been at each other all day. So
She
this
has
is
been,
another
she
fight.
has been in
In
a
a very
mood all
loving
day,
way.
Governor. I'm
Yeah,
just
it's
telling
fine.
you.
So, but this is where I disagree, which I guess I disagree with Lieutenant Governor too.
Well, and I
Well-
understand it, but you got to always think there's the person out there who says there's a whole
Wait,
bunch
you
of kids
haven't
in
even
my.
heard my argument yet.
I can't wait
I
to
know.
hear because
Okay,
I
I'm
wonder if
sorry.
we're going
Okay,
to be
so
similar.
here's the thing. So I have 2 in public school. I homeschool one. I have one at Auburn. Okay, we've kind of done the gamut. But so if you start getting into accreditation for these schools, for these homeschools and private schools, well, that dictates curriculum.
Oh, I thought we were just going to have a test.
Okay, well, it's a separate issue. It's accreditation because like homeschools and private schools, a lot of them aren't accredited.
Right.
Because they want to teach a classical education or they want to teach a Christian school education.
Correct.
And so that dictates curriculum along with the standardized testing, which makes me nervous because, we teach Common Core. Well, some people say we don't, but we do
Right.
in Alabama schools. And there's very specific curriculum guidelines. And if you start doing the standardized testing, well, you can't take biblical history or theology in your Christian school because you have to have you've got to know this U.S. history so that you can keep up with the public
version of U.S. history that the public
which
schools
is the
said. I get
1619
it.
project.
I get
Not
it. Right.
really, but you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like you don't know. So it really takes away the whole reason for homeschooling and private schooling is to have a nuanced education. And I just think that to me, like we're not getting rid of public schools. The government already controls that. But why would we want to allow the government not claws? I'm kind of clawing.
No, I see
but
exactly
to
what you're
step
saying.
in and dictate
I
more.
see the bad part. I also see, and I guess it's a risk. Freedom is always risky, and because you're going to have somebody who abuses a system. They're going to live in a certain neighborhood. They're going to say, I'm going to start my own private school. All the kids in the neighborhood are going to bring me their money, and they're not going to learn anything, but I'm going to make a fortune. So that's, and if that does happen in some places, it'll probably be corrected by the parents.
Well, I mean,
And we
what do
can't
you
be
think?
worse off than we are now.
It needs to be like to Scott's point, Allison. I think you brought up a good point, but I think as a state, right? If we're doing this to improve education, I want to know how those private kids are doing. So when I go out to recruit people to move to Alabama and recruit businesses, we've got to have some type of testing way just to say, okay, they've improved. So we can say, all right, now we're competing against other states. I'm just talking about strictly
Yeah.
if we private schools and homeschoolers, we need their teachers in our, total test score population, just like other states are doing, because that's going to, in my opinion, by offering choice, by having, potentially harder classes, by letting people get involved in, maybe tougher and more rigorous academics, it's going to improve and raise the bar that we're doing in education. And if we're doing a good job, we're not going to be at the bottom. We're going to raise up. But the only way is by having some type test they take. Now, I'm not talking about at all getting involved in what they're teaching, but I do think there needs to be some type test they take so we can assess, where are our students in
Right. It may be at some version of the ACT. By we test everybody when they get to 11th grade, and look, all these schools are passing the ACTs. Maybe we use the NAEP scores, or maybe we use the old graduation exam. That was put together before wokeness and all this kind of stuff really, really got hold, and it was before Common Core. So there's got to be something that is apolitical, so you don't have those things, and it's just about skills.
Well, but here's the. Oh, go ahead.
I want to get this across. Why we need public school choice in Alabama is there's kids that are stuck by a zip code. They're stuck in historically failing schools. And I don't know if this got on your thing or not, if I froze up, but there's kids that have been in, failing schools in Montgomery that have been failing longer than I've been alive. Right. And we have to give them a choice, to go to a private school, to go to a charter school, to go to whatever, a homeschool option, if that's what they want. But one of the limiting factors is money. Let's be honest. Okay.
Right.
They can't. So if we allow them to have this, set dollar amount, and then they can take that and go to the school of their choice. Maybe it's another public school,
Right.
right?
Right.
Florida's 4 to 5 times larger in our population, I think, but yet they have 700, I think charter schools, 600 magnet schools. They're smoking up. They got a lot of people in private school students, and so we've got to make sure that we give people options. It doesn't mean we abandon public schools. Certainly we want to make sure we have a strong public school system in this state. And
No, I have to agree with him, and I'll tell you what is great about the lieutenant governor is his passion, and what I think he would say is that they're going to do everything they can to pass it this time around,
Right.
And maybe there's some disagreements like this, but this is the point. If you and I were legislators, Allison, we've got to agree that we may not come to what we both love, but we got to give kids school choice.
And this is the discussion.
And I would give
This is
up the
what you want.
test if we could do it. Let's launch the ship. Let's get it going.
Yeah.
Because once it starts, we're never ever going back to what he's calling. I used to call it education prison, is what it really is.
Yeah.
If you live in this zip code, you will go to this school. We will make you go to this school, and you have no choices. And so that's got to go away, does it not?
I want to know what Amy Beth thinks because I feel like she has
You just
something
want her to
say.
vote with you.
And I'm hoping she's on my side.
We are already
If you're not,
testing
I
kids
still love you.
every year. So I don't know why we need to invent another test and spend more government money. I mean, when our
Okay.
kids were homeschooled, did they not in 4th grade, in 7th grade, they already take an end of the year skills test, just one
Okay.
that we already had. I don't want.
Can we use that one?
Well, why wouldn't we? Because we're already doing it. But I am not for testing for the same reasons that Allison is. I don't want to give the government a foothold in dictating my curriculum because we know that's where it's going to go.
Right.
And we know that they already believe that it is their money and it's not our money. But I also experienced that when Will was homeschooled during middle school and the Tim Tebow rule, they wanted to talk about testing. I'm like, fine, we'll take a test, whatever we have to do, but I don't want to because I already know what kind of curriculum he's doing. And every single year, if we just took, I know in high school it's different because in junior high they do the PACT, PSAT. I know in the 10th grade they do the PACT or they do the Duke Tip and then they do the PACT. And then in high school and junior year, they do the ACT, SAT. So we already have built-in testing.
Okay.
I don't know why we need to invent any more at
Yeah,
all. But let's keep with what we've used. But I don't want to give the government a foothold in what I teach my kids because
Right.
the other situation, we talk about accreditation, but some of the accreditation bodies that are used for private Christian schools have gone woke. And I know this to be a fact because of some of my
I'm
dealings.
opposed to the accreditation.
So the
thing.
accreditation means nothing to me. It's, are the kids learning or are they not? I understand there are people who bring their kids home because they were truant and that was their way of getting out of it. I was told that when Will was in middle school and they were like, you're actually doing school? I'm like, yes, we're actually doing school.
Right.
I want my child to learn. It's my responsibility. But I don't think we need to reinvent what's already built into what we're doing. But I need to make sure that parents have the absolute freedom to teach their kids what they want to teach because they know if we're serious, then we've got to consider what's already in place.
Right. And we can't be hamstrung by someone saying, well, what if there's this one person who does this?
That's right.
You know what?
That's
There's
too
there's
often
going
been the
to
rule.
be somebody who does that.
You
There's
left the
going to be.
exception.
But we
Yeah.
also have people who go to school every day and might as well not have.
Yeah.
So let's give the people who really are pursuing the best for their children every opportunity.
That's right.
Here's what gets me, and then we can close it
Right.
out because I don't know if we're getting.
I don't think
Governor
the lieutenant governor's
Ainsworth's
coming back.
back.
But thank you to him for
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you
spending
for
some time with
arranging
us.
that. We
I'll-
really
I should
appreciate it, Allison.
tell
That
him-
was
I'm
great.
sorry. He just said I can't get it to work.
Right.
Okay,
Will.
well,
We'll just keep bringing him
And
back
we
on
appreciate
from
him.
time to time. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that.
he was so kind to come on and give us what he
And
could.
you were in charge of getting all that set up, right?
Well, I just
I
yesterday
just want to make
was
sure
like,
it's on record.
well, I didn't need that, but yes, I was like, what? Well, the worst he can say is no.
Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
Okay.
but here's what gets me, and then I think we're about out of time. Like they don't test the homeschools. I mean, they do this, but they don't say we don't put any school choice education savings account into place. They wouldn't care. So my thing is now that they have we would be getting their money, the government
then
money.
they're going to care.
All of a
Right,
sudden
right.
they care.
I see your point. Okay, and I can't disagree with that. Is
Yeah.
they don't care now.
It's not happening now.
But they're going to raise it as a reason to be against it.
Right.
Oh yeah, we definitely need to check. Well,
Because-
why weren't you checking before? And that a part of the reason they weren't checking before is because the legislature has always said stay out of that.
Yeah. Well, why not?
I
It's
have
not their money.
I know, but I have that part in me that wants to just say, see, all these people
Yeah.
who took the choice, they are getting a better education.
Well, here's the other part when you provide choice in education is you also not only are you providing a way out, but you're also eliminating the opportunity for whoever they are, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, to keep people perpetually in a system that they never get out of.
Right. You can't get out.
You can't get out. And so that's the other thing that to me is very exciting about our choice in education.
So do we have time to know what's in this legislation?
Yeah,
or is
let's
it
go
or
through
is it a
this
whole
really
show?
quickly. No, I mean, I think it's important. Let's just go through it. And,
Okay.
and as a discussion, we might, once this bill drops, we can talk about it more in detail or as other bills come out. But basically, here's what it looks like. It would be all children. Del Marsh's bill last year was poverty, like below the poverty line, had the first go at it. Okay. This is universal.
Okay, good. No more staging.
No,
Let's just
well,
get to
there
it.
is staging, but it's not based on income or location or anything. Okay, so parents direct the education. You can go to any of the schools we've talked about. You are set up an ESA, an educational savings account. There is a new department that is created in the government that would manage this. But you've got to have some way to do it. Okay, so
we don't have enough education employees.
it would be through the Department of Revenue. And basically, your
Okay.
savings account is just a pass-through.
Oh, it's just they need a system to
put the
give
money
you your
in.
account.
Yes.
Here's
Yes.
tied to
Okay.
your kid's
Yes.
name.
That
okay,
makes
I
sense.
got you.
So it's literally just a pass-through. It would be each school would continue to keep the federal and local money. The only thing that would be pulled,
So they can still count you.
right?
Okay. Well, that ought to help them.
Yeah.
You like
No,
that?
I think it's a boondoggle, but I know I can see how they're. Oh, yeah, okay, we'll be all right with that. I got you.
Local sales tax and federal funding would still go to all the schools as they do now. The
Okay.
only thing that would be shifted around is the state funding.
Okay.
By the way, this is called the Price Act. This is what they're calling this bill.
The Price Act.
Parental
Oh, I know,
right
but there had to be a
in
better one than
something
that.
education. Well,
Okay.
the price is right. That's what we're going for.
Okay.
Okay. So each year, like right now, state funding is about $6,000 a year per child would go into this account.
Mhm.
If you only use like my homeschool co-op is about $4,000 a year for my child.
Mhm.
That extra $2,000 would roll over
Okay.
to the next year,
Okay.
next year. And then they can use it in college.
Ooh, I like
So
it.
they have use of the funds until 23. And right now there are about 85,000 students currently enrolled in private or home-based education. So all those students would get this money. Parents could use it however they wanted to. It is a phase-in plan. So like starting if they took this as a bill and signed it into law,
Mm-hmm.
the first year it would be if your child was going into kindergarten, 3rd grade, 6th grade, 9th grade, or 12th grade, plus their siblings. And then each year it just kind of rolls for
Wow.
3 years. I don't know. Don't get stuck
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
It's just a way to slowly grow the program because it is going to be a huge dump in this.
Right.
That was an interesting choice.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. A huge new system that we are jumping into.
Shock to the system.
It's going to be a shock to the system. Okay. Kind of like that Jax you ate.
Oh my word.
And so it's a roll in every year. And if one of your children is in one of those grades, the siblings can go in that year as well.
Okay. Okay. So you're not trucking them to two different places.
Qualified expenses, tuition, textbooks, fees, extracurricular activities, therapy, including occupational, behavioral, computer hardware, school uniforms, college tuition, education services providers would be approved by the Department of Revenue. So like each school or tutor or homeschool would have to register. Participation is totally optional.
Okay.
So, like, if Oak
Yeah,
Mountain High
if-
School
yeah.
didn't want to do it, they wouldn't have to.
Right.
If they do want to participate, they can set the limits. Hey, we can only take 10 students, or we can take 1,000.
And it's up to them how to just pick the 10?
And it's up to them how to pick the 10.
Okay.
And yeah, the main thing that is, it's the testing and the accreditation, because I think all that sounds great.
I'm okay with that. It's as free as it can possibly be.
Where this conversation goes awry is with the testing and accreditation. And I think that's what we're going to have to.
And I'm
Look
okay
out
with
for.
going, let's not do it.
But I think
if that's the stumbling block, let's just not do it. I mean,
you mean don't do school choice or don't do
the
testing?
no, don't do the testing. I'm all for school choice.
I feel like this is such a good discussion.
Where's the answer? You know what's coming. What do the poor little athletes do? What happens to the kids in sports?
And we already
somebody's
have
got to answer it. Well, we've got that
we've
messed
got the
up Tebow
sort of-
thing that has to be. We've got to run over somebody and fix that.
Look, and we also have to deal with the High School Athletic Association.
Who's a
who
private
just
entity who
they
can be run over
Yeah.
by the
just
legislature.
make crap up, and they need to be refined. Okay, there I said it. Like, sometimes I think they don't have a lick of sense. I have felt this for a while. I love them. I appreciate all the things they do for sporting events. But when it comes to the nuts and bolts of running education and allowing a child to participate, don't make it so hard.
But aren't they
that you
doing that?
force them.
Aren't they doing
into
that
their
at the
school.
behest
Yes.
of the teachers
Of course
union
they are.
and the public school system
Absolutely.
that wants to make it harder so that people will be like, well, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a way to do it.
So
Bottom line, whatever is happening in Alabama public education right now is not working. And so I think it's like we talked about, why not try it? And there's going to be people on the conservative side, just like us, that disagree. And I think that's fine. But let's have a discussion, really put the kids first, and let's move the ball forward in a methodical way instead of just throwing more money at the same
Right.
system.
Let's try something new.
Let's try something
Let's call
new.
a new play. Let's don't run it up the middle.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's great.
Ladies, thank y'all very much. And it's
Thank
been a great show. Don't forget, you can check us out in the overtime segment after this. Look that up. Is it overtime or after hours? Or is it overtime after hours?
Or is it
after hours overtime?
Or after hours overtime.
It's
dark.
one or the other. We'll eventually get there. Don't forget to check us out at all the usual places where you find your podcast. Tell your friends and your family and people you like, people you don't like about this program. Check out 1819news.com. We're powered by them. Sign up for the Daily Detail or the newsletter. And again, thank you, ladies. Fantastic job. See y'all.